the normal Boy Scouts, and in fact it was made for scouts back in the day who lived in the mountains and couldn't come down to troop meetings regularly. But what you did is you would do everything that a Boy Scout did, but you did it alone. So you'd make a campfire alone, and you'd roast marshmallows alone, and you tell campfire stories to yourself. You'd have troop meetings here alone. And this was the entire process, that you did everything else that everyone ever did for Boy Scouts. But you did it alone. And we laugh at that, we look at it, but it's kind of sad too. You're like, because we know that the essence of Boy Scout-dom is community. Is that you are with other people, you guys are going out and trekking into the woods and making fires and telling camp stories and having meetings together. That the Boy Scouts are learning from the upper level scouts, getting skills that help them become better Boy Scouts. We get that. That same concept of how hilarious that looks, that you'd be by yourself and be like, yeah, you remember that one story? Of course you do, you told it to yourself. As ridiculous as that sounds, of having these meetings by yourself, making campfires by yourself, is exactly how the Christian life should look by itself. That we as Christians were never meant to be alone. We were never meant to be, I am a Christian by myself. Whenever God talks about the Christian community, it's exactly that, a community. A group of people coming together and being united in one mindset. Your verse this morning really kind of displayed that. I don't know if you guys remember, it was Colossians 3, 8 through 13. And it lists, you guys don't have to turn there, but it lists out all these things to put away with, malice and anger. And then it said, put on these other things and forgive others. But everything it listed, all these things to put away with, they were all relational. That your anger is against someone. That your malice is against someone. That these things, they don't just affect you, it's against someone else, and they're relational, and the idea is relational, and we're doing it not for our own good, but for the good of others within the community. Once again, our theme is single-minded, and we talked about it yesterday. It's having one purpose, goal, and interest. We already talked about the interest, which is Christ, but we need purpose, and that is community. That we as a community are loving and bearing with one another. John writes it like this in 1 John 20. He says, if anyone says, I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. John so connects the idea of loving God, of loving Christ, and loving people that you cannot separate them. That's how connected they are. That he realized that these relationships are always meant to be together. He also says it in Matthew 5:23. He says, so if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. Be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. That Christ is also saying He doesn't want you worshiping if there's moments going on that are not right, that you know someone's got something against you because something you said just totally out of the blue. Maybe you said something accidentally, but you know that Jimmy over here totally has something against you. He wants you to rather go and be reconciled with the body first before you come singularly and worship to Him. He wants all of this to be okay. He wants there to be an us before we focus on a me. That we're supposed to live together. We're supposed to commune together. That before we go and praise and worship, before we go do this, we need to make sure we're worshiping together. That our hearts are all in the right place. That we have communion. mean, you see it from the first moments in the Bible. Genesis 2. God makes Adam. And he looks at Adam. And Adam has the perfect relationship with God. Like he has 100% moment with God. He can go and talk to God. And Adam looks at God and he's like, God, do you love me? And God says, like no one else, Adam. Oh, no one got it. All right. And no one else? There's only Adam. Okay, moving on. It's a dumb joke. But even though you would look at that moment and you're like, that's awesome. Like, God, Adam, they're just walking around like they're eating some they don't have hamburgers, but, they're just chilling, they're just going through life and they're having a good time. But as God saw that, he realized that there's something that's off here. There's something that's not right, that God saw that Adam needed someone with him. He needed community. He needed someone that was like him. If we think about it, God in himself is community. That we believe in a triune God. We believe in the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's how God is perfect love. That the Father loves the Son and the Spirit, and the Son loves the Spirit and the Father, and the Spirit loves the Father and the Son. That there is perfect love between them. And so God created woman to be with man, and then they have child, and that's a representation of this love. And so is the body. That the body, there's others who offer different things, and so we are to love others as he loves others. As he loves. He is the perfect representation of love. And we see this even in our own life. That God has communion with us, that he comes to us, that he talks with us. And that's a crazy moment. Because who are you? Who are we to have God, the God of the universe, come and talk with us? Come and have communion with us? We're just a sinner. We're nothing. We're creation. We're not creator, but the creator comes to the creation and meets with us. I mean, he gave his all so that there was no division between us, that he could have connection with us, so that there could be communion with us. That he saw that, we needed a helper, we needed a community, but then he also comes and has community with us. I think your guys' lesson today also put it really good, but there's also another passage that displays it well too, and it's Ephesians 2, 11 through 16, if you guys want to turn it. It's going to be on the screen if you don't have your Bible. But it says this, Ephesians 2, 11 through 16. Therefore, remember that at one time, you Gentiles in the flesh, called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision, which is made by the flesh by hands. Remember that you were at times separated from Christ, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers to the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, you who were once far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. For he himself, our peace, who has made us both one and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility, by abolishing the law of commandments expressed in the ordinances, that he might create in himself one new man in place of two, so making peace, and might reconcile us both to God in one body through the cross, thereby in killing the hostility. What Paul does here, Paul's the writer of, Colossians and Ephesians, if you didn't know that. He wrote the epistles, most of them. And in your guys' text that you read today, it was like, Gentile, Jew, Scythian, barbarian, uncircumcised, circumcised. Just list off these things, But Paul does that a lot. He picks these two groups, and two that you'll hear a ton are Jew and Gentile. I mean, this is the pinnacle of division in his day. Way back in time. Go that way. That's back in time. This is forward in time. You guys got it? This is good. Great. Just making sure we got it. But back in time, these were the most like two antithetical enemies of each other people. Like that's like, at least from Colorado, that's like Broncos and Raiders. Just no. You don't talk about that. Like, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about these two people who have so little in common, and yet Christ brings them together. That there's this hostility, that you were once not a people, but now you are a people, and you're brought together. But who did it? Who brought us together? You guys can answer. It's okay. God. Good. Great. Yeah, he says it. It was his cross. It was God who sent Jesus. It says that his cross, the one body through the cross, thereby killing the hostility. I really hate those stickers on the back of cars. Have you guys seen these stickers? You probably have. Where it says, if you were the only, it's not even like a sticker anymore, it's more of a phrase, but like, it's like, if you were the only person on earth, Christ would have still died for you. And like, I get it. Okay, it's trying to show the measure of his love. But that was never God's plan. It was never just, you're going to get saved. It was we are going to get saved. It's not Christ dying for one person. It's Christ dying for everybody. That was the plan. He made us a community. He made us to be brought together, that you might think one thing, and you might have another view, and you might like this team, and you might like that team, and you might do this sin, and there might be this sin, but it doesn't matter, because he brought us all together. It was never meant to be a singular purpose. It was never meant to be just you. It was meant to be us as a community. Us as a one moment. Us as in us, not a me. So what calls us to love others? That's really what I'm trying to get at here. And I know I kind of did a roundabout way of getting here, but if this love of Christ destroyed the dividing wall of hostility between people, and we're supposed to be a community, what calls us to love one another? And it's Christ. That the cross makes us all both guilty, but also makes us both redeemed. That through the cross we see our imperfection, but he brings us into reconciliation. That it shows us how imperfect we are, but it also shows us how loved we are. And if God, the God of the universe, can love us, then what keeps us from loving others? What keeps us from going out and doing things for others? Especially within his own body. That if we're supposed to be single-minded and this is a community mind, there's already division here. And I'm not talking about, I like this team and I like this team. I'm talking about true, deep divisions. That you don't like that person, I don't like that person, this person gets on my nerve. And you've already caused separation in your mind and in your heart, which was never our purpose. He calls us one body, not many parts. There's one body with many parts that is together one unit, but not just like finger over here, ear over there, there's a leg in the rafters, Like it was never meant to be that. That's an explosion scene. We were supposed to be one unit. Another verse displays this better, I think, and it's Ephesians 4. So you just turn the page. Ephesians 4, 1 through 3 says this. Sorry. Therefore, a prisoner for the Lord urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. if we say we love Christ, that's kind of what we talked about yesterday. If you have been raised with Christ, blank, blank, blank. Same thing here. It's if you are a prisoner in the Lord, if you're called to love each other as we are called to love each other, as, the gospel says we're called to love each other, then what do? We walk with all humility, with all patience, with all gentleness, bearing with one another. That phrase is from your guys' text as well in Colossians. Bear with one another. Forgive one another. If you are a Christian, you do these things. You go out and you love people. If someone gets on your nerve, what do? You be patient with them. If you think you're better than someone, trust me, you're not. You need to be humble. You need to be gentle. But instead, we're so against each other. We get in these moments where we're just like, I don't want to hang out with that person. I don't want to hang out with this person. Some of you are in houses right now where you're just thinking, you're like, man, there's someone I don't want to see right now in my house. You don't exactly have to go and hang out with them and be near them. You can separate yourself to a degree and if they're being that mean, But at the same time, are you the one causing hostility to just grow even more? By causing separation? Or are you actively pursuing love, patience, gentleness, bearing with one another, trying to learn what's going on? Or instead do you just separate yourself? The reason we do this is because God loves us and they love the person that you are trying to separate yourself from. I think a good way to display this would be like me going to David and be like, David, hey, I really like you. You're a great guy. I mean, you're really fun. I like hanging out with you. But your son, Jaden, he is just annoying. Like, I cannot stand him. So if you could just have him, not come around, that'd be great. David would probably look at you and be like, actually, we're kind of a package deal. You take me, he's coming with me. If you want to hang out with Jaden, I'm there. You don't separate us. We're family. That's how Christ is with you. That's how Christ is with the other person in this room. You don't get to pick and choose who's your brother, who's your sister, who's your neighbor. That was never part of his plan. It was never, I don't want to love you, but I love you, and I don't want to love you. You're okay. You can't, no, never mind. It was never that moment. If you ever ask God, do I really have to love them? His answer will always be yes. His answer will always return with a yes. Some of you, and this isn't just like, some of the guys in the room are just like, this sounds like more of a girl problem. I don't know. Girls are not dramatic. But guys, I know you do the same thing. I am a guy. Okay. But we get just as heated. We get just as angry. We find little things to nitpick. We find things to attack. We find things to just blow up and just be like, no, I don't like you. But can I say this? Some of you in this room today, please hear me when I say this. Some of you in this room today have damaged and have hurt our body already. And I'm not just trying to call out, I don't know who you are. If you're convicted right now, please don't hear me. I'm not just trying to say you're a sinner and there's no hope for you. But some of you have caused such rifts in this body alone, or maybe even to people who don't go to church, or maybe go to another church, but you have found things to nitpick and hurt people. Matthew 5:22-36 says this. Jesus is in an area with some scribes, some lawmakers, some Pharisees, and they ask him this. They say, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And he said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend the law, all the law, and the prophets. Now here's what he's saying. He's saying, do you love God? If you love God, if that's true of you, if you say, man, I'm a Christian, I love God, He's great. I come here, I get my worship on, I go to the worship center, it's great. I put my hands up. You don't even have to sing good. I don't sing good. But do you love God? And if you say yes to that question, then he says, the second commandment is exactly like it. It's that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Everyone. Everyone you come in contact with. All of your circle of influence in this world, your neighbor. That you love God and you love people. You want to know what our purpose is? It is love God and love people. It's not to nitpick. It's not to destroy. It's not to tear apart. But some of you, and I think we've all been here, and this is not me saying I'm better than you guys. This is a fact. We've all been here. Some of us have someone that we just dislike. There's someone you probably haven't extended love to. And there might be someone in this room who you haven't extended love to. That you look at them and you think, man, maybe they're just someone who's you just don't think that they're just someone who's just really good looking, and you're like, man, I hate that they're so much better looking than me. Or for guys, I'm like, man, they're just huge, and I wish I could punch them, but they would crush me. Maybe they're nerdy, maybe they're jockey, ugly, maybe they're beautiful, maybe they're big, they're small. Maybe they're just different from you in some kind of inconceivable way, and you just get so caught up, and you begin to think like, well, they got this, and man, I wish I had that, or they don't have this, and I'm just going to make fun of them for it. And they've got this deal, and like maybe their hair's a little weird or something, but you find things and you just nitpick and nitpick and nitpick. Maybe it's just in your heart. But really, when you're doing those moments of looking at their flaws, of looking at what they don't or do have over what you have, and begin to judge them for that, or begin to attack them for that, or maybe you know their sin and their struggle, and you just go after them about that, really what you're saying is, God, I don't trust you with what you gave me, and I don't trust you that what you gave them. I don't care what you did for them. I don't care that they're loved. I don't care that you love them as well. I just care about me. The man, they're just weird. And you're not giving him the grace and be like, but Lord, you made him that way. You're going to use him in that way. All you're looking at is yourself. That this gospel we live in was never meant to be radical self-seeking. It was meant to be radical self-giving. That you go forth and you give all you have for others, that they can hear the good news of Christ through your life, through your word, through your actions, that everything you do points back to this, that you love God and you love people. That when people come around you, what do they immediately feel? Love. That when you're out playing sports, what do people feel? They feel love. That when you're just singing worship, what do they see? They see the love of God and the love for people. We read it earlier back in Matthew 5. And he says, so if you're offering your gift at the altar and you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother and then come to offer your gift. Some of you right now might be thinking, man, there are some people I need to get this right with. That there are some people that I might have hurt or abused or attacked. There might be an area where I am hindering the progression of the gospel because of my inability to love somebody else, and I need God's help. But really right now, what we need is if there's anyone in this room that you know you have something, that they have something against you, that you have offended them, that they have just this amount of level of dislike for you, not because of, like, maybe they just hate you, okay, that's a different story. But I'm saying you did something actively to invoke wrath in them that we talked about yesterday. You know, they just have so much wrath against you. They want to throw remotes at you. But if you know that's you, if you know there's a moment, maybe it's back at school on Monday, okay? Please hear me. God hates it when you are unwilling to love people. Because ultimately, you are not showing the gospel, you are just showing yourself. What is the gospel? Christ died for all. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter what you like. It doesn't matter your past. It doesn't matter your sin. It doesn't matter anything. He died for all. Christ loves all. And if we love him, he tells us we love others. If we're a reflection of him, we're a reflection of his love. And so some of you need to go into this room, go into school on Monday, and you need to go ask for forgiveness. Some of you, I pray and ask that before we even come back to worship tonight, that you try and get this right. Because I promise you, He loves your worship. God loves your worship, but he really first wants you to be reconciled as a body so that when you all come together, there's not a lingering thought of, man, I messed up, or man, this person is just tearing me apart. He wants us all to be able to look at him and be like, man, you are glorious, that you have redeemed us, that you have brought us together, that I normally wanted to get along with this person, but somehow, by your grace, by us having the same interest and purpose, we love each other. And it's beautiful. And some of you need to go and find someone in this room who you have wronged and get it right with them. And you know who you are. Maybe it's at school, and you need to know that you will need to make progressive acts that, like, you write it down, you tell someone, hey, on Monday, I need to go see this person and get it right. Some of you, it might be a sibling. Some of you, it might be a parent. That you need to go and be like, hey, I'm sorry if I ever angered you, and I'm really sorry about that. For those of you who think that, you might be on the receiving end of someone coming and apologizing to you, this is not a moment to be like, oh, I have been waiting for this moment for so long. You are evil! Do you know what you've done in my life? You have just caused so many angry thoughts to come in here that I wanted to throw like multiple notes at you. Just get real tomahawks, That is not your moment. What your moment then is if someone comes to you and says, and you might not even know about it, you might have been like, you hate me? What? I didn't know anyone hated me. Just be like, but then that gives you a moment to look at them, and you then get to display the love of Christ. You get to come sweetly and gently and display to them the love that was offered to you, the love that was given to you. That we don't need any more division here. This is not a place of picking on people, on hurting people. This is a place of love and grace. That we praise a Father of love and grace. You don't get to pick and choose who you love. Hear me when I say that. You don't get to pick and choose. God says, love Him, love God, and love people. So that is your active challenge for today as you go out to mission projects, as you go and get lunch, whatever you're doing. First, be reconciled with your brothers and sisters. And then come in here and be reconciled to your God.